Alright everybody, I know that you've already taken notes on these, so hopefully this is just a review for you. And I want to just kind of go over these notes. Okay? So we're going to talk about section 4.1, which is on congruent figures. And I want you to take a look at the definition of congruent polygons. Congruent polygons have corresponding, which means matching parts. Congruent means equal, so all the matching parts are equal. And the matching sides are all equal, and the matching angles are all equal. So we're going to apply this definition of congruent polygons to our examples in this problem. Okay, very first example says triangle ABC is congruent to triangle QTJ. List the corresponding congruent parts. And we have sides and we have angles we have to list. So I'm going to start with my sides. And then I'm going to list my angles. Alright, so I'm looking at these pictures and there's absolutely no marks, and I'm going to add the marks based on this congruent statement. And this congruent statement is very important, and the reason why it's important is because we're going to list the sides in the same order as the letters in the congruent statement. What I mean is this. First two letters I see are letters A and B. So I write that down. That has to be congruent to, and the letters that match in the same spot are Q and T. So I mark AB with one arc mark. I mark QT with one arc mark. The next two letters I see are letters BC that match letters TJ. BC must be congruent to TJ. Because it's a second set, I mark BC and I mark TJ. The third set of letters I see go from A to C, which matches Q to J. So I know AC has to be congruent to QJ. And you can see on the picture, this AC with 3 arc marks matches this QJ with 3 arc marks. Okay, now we're going to go to the angles, and for my angles, the first angle that I see in my picture is angle A and angle Q. They're in the same spots. So angle A must be congruent to angle Q. So I mark angle A congruent to angle Q. The next letters that I see is angle B matching up with angle T. So I mark angle B with 2 arc marks, angle T, 2 arc marks. My last angles are letter C and letter J. So angle C has to be congruent to angle J. And I mark C with 3 arc marks and letter J with 3 arc marks. And I'm done with the picture. So in a triangle, you have 3 congruent sides and 3 congruent angles for a total of 6 congruent parts. Okay, moving on. Next example. I don't have a picture for this one. It tells me that triangle XYZ is congruent to triangle KLM. And that's all I know. So I'm going to draw 2 triangles that are rather generic but look alike. I'm going to label this one X, Y, Z. I'm going to label this one the same way. X has to match up with K, Y has to match up with L, and Z has to match up with M. Now here are my 2 triangles. Now I'm going to fill in the given information. Angle Y is 67. So I find angle Y, which is 67. Angle M is 48. So I find angle M, which is 48. The directions say, find out what X is. Now here's the thing. I know because the triangles are congruent, their parts match. So if this is 67, this is also 67. if this angle is 48, this angle is also 48. My job is to find x. I'm going to use the triangle angle sum theorem. I know that angle x plus 67 plus 48 has to equal 180 degrees. When I take the time and add these together, so 67 plus 48 is equal to 115. And subtract that from 180, angle x, the measure of angle x, has to equal 180, take away 115, is 65 degrees. So this angle for sure is 65 degrees. And that means this angle by default has to be 65 degrees as well. Okay, next problem. Are you able to conclude that these two triangles are congruent in the figure below? Well, don't forget, we have to have all the matching parts equal. So if I'm looking, I got this 3 matches this 3, this 4 matches this 4. I've got this arc mark matching this arc mark, so all the sides are the same. I also know that I have a right angle at B, a right angle at D, and a single arc mark at A, a single arc at E, and I can always mark vertical angles congruent. So it appears all 6 parts, the 3 angles and the 3 sides, are matched up. So initially you think, yeah, these triangles are congruent. But be very, very careful. You have to match the parts exactly. So according to this, this tells you angle A and angle C are exactly the same. And if I look at angle A, it has 1 arc mark. And if I look at angle C, it has 2 arc marks. So, no. The congruent statement is wrong. It should be. Okay, now we're going to write it the correct way. You can name the first triangle any way you want. I choose to name it triangle A, B, C is congruent to triangle. Now the second one has to match up. Angle A has a single arc mark. I match it up with angle E with a single arc mark. B is the right angle. It matches up to D. And then C is the vertical angle. It matches up with C. That is the correct answer. All right, we're going to try some practice problems on our own. Theorem 4.1 says if 2 angles of one triangle are congruent to 2 angles of another triangle, then the third angles are congruent. The directions say, show how you can conclude that these triangles are congruent, list the statements and the reasons. I need all 6 parts, need 6 parts equal. I need 3 equal angles, and I need 3 equal sides. All right, let's see what we're given. For my angles, I know angle C is equal to angle D. This is given. I know angle C and G is congruent to angle D and G because it's also given all right angles are congruent. It's given by the marks. However, what I don't have marked is these angles up here. But from the theorem I just read, if 2 angles of one triangle, angle C and angle N, are congruent to 2 angles of another triangle, angle D and angle N, then the third angles must be congruent. So I can say that angle CGN has to be congruent to angle DGN because of this theorem 4.1. All right, let's talk about the sides. What do I know about my sides? I know that there's one arc mark here and one arc mark here. So I know that CN for sure is congruent to DN because it's given in the marks. I have two arc marks here and two arc marks here. So I know that CG for sure is congruent to DG because it's also given in the marks. Where is the third side that we need? Well, the third side that we need comes from this common side right here. It's shared for both triangles, so I can mark that side equal to itself because of the reflexive property. So I can say GN is congruent to GN because of this thing called reflexive property. This is incredibly important because we're going to use it all the time during this chapter with our proofs. All right, let's answer these questions. You need to answer these questions on your own, and I have the answers here at school. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video so you can get these notes and then check on your own if you understand the following. Okay, guys, you have a good day. Bye.